Hello, and welcome back to the ReefSmart podcast, brought to you by Dallas Discount Reef. So, today we're going to talk about a question that I get a lot, which is, what is the best way to acclimate my saltwater fish to my aquarium? A lot of people like drip acclimation. Here's the problem with drip acclimation. Number one, if you have one fish, it's not a big deal. But when you have 13 or 14 or 20 fish or more that you're trying to put in, it's damn near impossible. And number two, that requires a lot of handling of the fish out of the bag into the bucket, gets dripped, it acclimates, the temperature again changes because it's going to change in the water from coming down this little tube, dripping into the bucket, which is usually sitting on the floor, which is a different temperature from the tank. And then you got to scoop it out of that bucket, out of that water, and then, in the tank. Because usually there's some type of medication or you're putting something in the water. Even if it's not, again, there's still going to be a temperature change with fish to the tank. So in the real world, which most of us live in, what's the best way to do it? So number one is get some prime. Again, it's going to be an ammonia remover, nitrate reducer, etc. That's made by Seachem. There's more than one brand. That's just what I use. Again, disclaimer, that is not sponsored. It just works well. It's what we use. So 50 milliliters. 5 milliliters per 50 gallons of aquarium volume. That's generally how I dose it. And then put that in the tank, and then this is during that time where you get your fish. They are acclimating for about 20 minutes. Usually is about the time, 20 to 30 minutes. I'll just let them sit in the tank, like the bag temperature acclimate to the temperature of the tank. So just a bunch of bags floating on top of the tank, right, for a while. Turn the lights off. Lights off. Number one, your fish have been in a box, in the darkness during sleep mode. They're like, oh, shoot, here, we're going to put you under this freaking Radeon 5. Not good. Okay, it just stresses them out. Number two, when you take that fish and then you've got the lights on, all the fish are out and this and that and the other, and then you just dump this new fish in, it's like the target. Every fish you put in, it's just immediately going to draw more attention versus you drop it in, maybe it slides behind a rock in a corner. It's a lot less stress on the fish, big time. Not saying you can't turn it on, but we let the fish get in there for a little while, 10, 15 minutes, put a little bit of food in, turn the lights on low, put a little more food in, and then, go from there. But in terms of how do you get the fish from the bag into the tank? So it's been sitting in the tank. I usually take a pair of scissors and then cut that bag till it's 90% cut through. I pour 90% of the water in that bag into a waste container. So there's just the amount of water that's keeping the fish in the water, and then I immediately dump that baby in the tank. Just bloop, drop them in there. Done. I do that for all of them. And I've done that with tons and tons of fish for years and years. And actually I had a wholesaler that told me, how to do this, and he kind of cited the same things that I'm telling you. And do the loss rate doing this versus trying other methods, which is primarily like dip acclimation or, a method that requires more handling. Great success. I would also note that, again, the best thing you can do is to quarantine like the fish in a separate tank if you can. But if you can't, well, like I said the other day, this is going to be the way that most people do it, and going back to a previous episode, if you are going to have a mixed reef and the question is fish or coral first, go with fish because you can medicate them if you do need to with a much wider array of effective and available medications than you can if there's corals in the tank. So, having said that, the other thing that really helps when you're acclimating fish is get a variety of foods to feed them. So, we had a mix of food that I came up with, and I think there's 15, 20 different types of food in there. But if you feed Brian, get some cyclopes, get some frozen pods. We usually have a handful of different things that we're putting in the tank of different particulate sizes for different sizes of fish. So that's going to be something as well that you're going to want to take into consideration if you have finicky eaters and things like that. One thing that works very well, and my primary thing with that is Anthias. Seem to be hard to feed sometimes, and to get them in there, getting like the reef caviar, which is like fish roe or fish eggs, that does really, really well. They just hammer down on that stuff. So it's a great way, by maybe using a little bit more of an expensive food or something you haven't used just for that, use it till it's gone, but it'll help get the fish acclimated to the tank. They'll be eating and different things like that. You can also use garlic in the food and some other things, but that's a podcast for a different day. So in a nutshell, just to recap, that's about it. Float the bag, 20 to 30 minutes. Temperature will be the same. Put your prime in the tank. Cut the bag. Dump 90% of the water out till the fish is just covered in the water. Dump it in your tank. Make sure the lights are off before you put the fish in there, and make sure they're off before you put them in for acclimation. And then, the first couple days, or especially like that time when you put them in and you let them acclimate a little time goes by, put a little food in, and then, try and feed them a little bit a few times that first day or two. So if you normally feed once a day, man, just give them a little in the morning and give them a little when you're in evening, or vice versa, whatever it is. It's pretty common sense, but again, that'll just help them to get acclimated and kind of de-stress, because before you put the fish in the bag and they're shipped, generally they are fasting or not eating for 24 hours, and even in the store they feed them a small amount to keep them alive, but also to keep the tanks clean and reduce maintenance and different things like that. So I hope that helps. Smash that like and subscribe button. We look forward to hearing and seeing you next time. Sayonara.